News starts now. Traces of radioactive iodine have been found in rainwater right here in Massachusetts, courtesy of the nuclear crisis in Japan. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ken McLeod. State officials are not saying where the sample was taken that yielded the radioiodine, but as Jim Smith explains, the health department is quick to point out this does not pose any risk to our water supply or our health.
We want to make clear that there is no health impact.
State health officials are offering reassuring words, but ever since Japan had its nuclear catastrophe, the rest of the world has been worried that fallout of some type would end up in their own backyard. Now comes word that radioiodine-131, a radioactive isotope, has turned up in rainwater tested in Boston. But experts say it's at extremely low levels and not dangerous.
I want to emphasize that the sampling results indicate no risk to the state drinking water supplies. The drinking water supply in Massachusetts is unaffected by this short-term slight elevation in radiation.
It's important to remember that these samples are based on rainwater, and not many of us drink 100% rainwater. Usually, rain falls on a body of water where it's greatly diluted before it even gets into a drinking water supply. But just in case, the state is testing 12 different water supply sources, and they've already tested the Quabbin and Wachusett reservoirs.
Levels of radiation are below detection. So this isotope did not show up in the public water supply for Greater Boston.
Air samples have also turned up nothing, but the fact that radiation made it all the way here from Japan makes some people uneasy.
It's very scary.
I'm not surprised. This stuff impacts all of us.
Scientifically, I can believe it, but it doesn't concern me in any way. I think the level is very low.
The state says it will continue testing as long as it's needed. In Boston, Jim Smith, WBZ News.
Health officials say the radioiodine almost certainly blew across the globe from Japan. Meteorologist Barry Burbank joins us now. And Barry, this is obviously possible, but almost seems unlikely given the weather we've had these last few weeks.
Yeah, we really haven't had much precipitation. They call this sample in the rainwater. Well, we can trace the jet stream or the prevailing westerlies all the way across the United States and all the way across the Pacific Ocean. Here is Japan right in here. And of course, we have the main jet stream with its various disturbances within that jet stream cutting across the whole Pacific. There are the Hawaiian Islands down there. It moves across the Pacific with its various disturbances, then moves right into the United States. The prevailing westerlies would bring that across the United States, but of course, as was detected, minute concentrations of that radioactive material. A smaller jet stream, sort of a branch up here, but we've really been in a northwest flow, and we've really had virtually no precipitation for the last several days, although early in the week we had that bit of snow. For the most part, the jet stream has carried all the disturbances across to the south of us. So anyway, that's a look at how the jet stream can distribute this across the globe from the Pacific eastward into the United States. We'll have our look at our weather forecast for the next 7 days. My AccuWeather forecast is coming right up. Ken?
All right, Barry, thanks. We'll see you then. Low levels of radioiodine have also turned up in rainwater in California, Pennsylvania, and Washington State. The key question here is this: are we in for much worse if things go downhill at that crippled nuclear plant in Japan? WBZ's Paul Burton joins us now. And Paul, you spoke with a Boston College professor on that exact point.
Ken, Professor Rudolf Hon told me it would have to be a very large nuclear plant explosion for anything to get worse and impact us here in Massachusetts. Still, the issue of radiation dust raises a lot of questions and concerns for many people. As the state continues to test different water supplies for radioiodine, experts say people here in Massachusetts have no need to fear that the radiation could potentially get worse.
The danger with iodine is the thyroid cancer.
Dr. Rudolf Hon is a professor of environmental geoscience at Boston College. He says he's not surprised some of the elements of radiation made it over to the U.S.
People here, it's a long way out. And so it would not concern me in any way. The release was episodic, namely, it was not a continuous, nothing similar, nothing like Chernobyl, where it was going for days, right? Here it was just poof, poof type of thing, and then it quieted down.
And since there's no immediate danger, there's also no need for any alarm because of the distance iodine has to travel in its short-term lifespan.
It takes a couple of weeks to get here, so during that time it dilutes, disperse.
The only danger is if you ingest a significant amount of radiation dust.
We don't need to be concerned about it unless there would be a major eruption or explosion that would destroy the entire nuclear reactor.
Professor Hon says the Japan crisis has sparked a lot of questions from his students, and there are a lot of valuable lessons to be learned in this very unfortunate situation, Ken.
Paul, thanks. Experts say the half-life of radioiodine-131 is 8 days. After that period, any impact diminishes greatly. And in Japan today, another earthquake has prompted another tsunami alert. The 6.5 magnitude quake shook the eastern part of the country, but there were no immediate reports of injuries. At the Fukushima nuclear power plant, contaminated water continues to hamper efforts to restart the regular cooling system. And auto industry experts say car buyers will soon have trouble trying to find certain models from Toyota and Honda. That's because factories overseas have yet to restart since the devastating earthquake, now more than 2 weeks ago.